Hey, what up? It's Brad with Home Love Construction. Welcome back to the Critical Path podcast. I have a really awesome guest with me here today, Ari Levy from Levy Design Group. Ari is really he's probably the most passionate person about the concept of design that I've ever met. He takes construction and architectural design and pulls just the total idea of aesthetics into it. In a way that most people who are involved in design don't do. It's more than just pretty colors and finishes and stuff like that. It's actually design of a whole space. So I don't want to totally override your thing. Why don't you introduce yourself, tell people who you are and what you do?
Thank you so much. Yeah, well, what you said is exactly what defines me as a professional.
Yeah.
I'm extremely passionate about design spaces and everything that I do. I actually I have been thinking about, why is that I don't trust something to be a process of choosing colors or nice finishes and all of that, right? And at some point, I realized that when you're dealing with space, you are dealing with viewpoints, right? That's what you're doing. And when you have a beautiful space, your viewpoint changes. And that's actually what drove me to become who I am right now. I used to have this holiday to the same place to two different like resorts. One of them was villages on a mountain, and the other one, side by side, was a hotel, all inclusive, like super beautiful. And every year we swapped. And the feeling, it was the same holiday.
Yeah.
The feeling was completely different. And I think I was literally like 4 years old.
Yeah.
And I entered into the second one, into the nice one. And I was like, I want to be an architect.
Oh, wow.
Because of the viewpoint and how it changes. So, yeah, I mean, I could be here sitting down for 2 hours explaining things, but I just think it's important. It's super, super powerful also.
Yeah. Yeah. And from a doingness aspect, what is it that you do? What is your profession? Have you seen the movie 300?
Yeah.
Ari, what is your profession?
Okay, so it is about designing spaces.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I have seen as the misconception of designing spaces is you're not designing the barriers. You're actually designing the emptiness. And that's what creates a good project. When the emptiness is fluent enough and it creates different feelings, that's exactly when you have done it. And it could be a white space, like blank space, like completely, without finishes. It could be beautiful and make you feel something. So I like to solve like houses. Here's, super, super common. And I think, I really like to create that impact on
that's a great 3-word, like kind of like catchphrase. I solve houses.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. And it communicates and that really is what you do.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for that. Let's go back to the first time that we met was at a restaurant. We actually were introduced by a criminal who's actually going to be in federal prison soon. I don't know if you know. It's fun story. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. That guy's just getting blown up.
Wow.
But something really good came out of my relationship with that person is that I met you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he actually introduced us. He shall remain nameless. But during that lunch, you told me about a project that you did. You were actually talking about projects that you did in Mexico of designing. It was like it was like a design competition, right? Can you tell me that story again in a unit of time?
Yeah. So it was an open contest.
Yeah.
It was being held by an engineer.
Yeah.
And he had the record of cubic feet of concrete poured in Mexico City, one of the biggest cities in the world.
Wow.
Right. He was 73 years old. At that time, I was 23.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be working at a fancy firm in Chicago.
Yeah.
And someone invited me to enter into that contest.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, fine. I'll be gone in a few months.
Yeah.
I might as well design a building. It was actually two and it was 40 something units or something.
Yeah.
Um,
And this was a high rise, like kind of like condo building, basically.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
22 floors each, so it was 88 units.
Wow.
Yeah, and I looked at the land; it was tiny, and it
Yeah.
was the last available land in Mexico City, in the hills of Mexico City. So basically, I read through the requests, and what he asked for was not enough. So I actually gave him and solved the project in a way with the shape that he could have more sellable square footage.
Mm.
So on the same day, everyone arrived with their floor plans.
Yeah.
And I got there, and he sat there for 30 minutes looking at the floor plans and shaking through with the pencil. And I was like, he's hating it, man. Like, he's not saying anything. So he looks at me and he says, like, how much wasted square footage do you have? And I knew the answer. I said, like, 5.99%.
Yeah.
And he said, that's impossible. I have done buildings and buildings, and there's no way that I could ever be below 10.
Yeah.
I said, well, this is how you do it. This
Yeah.
is how you solve it. Then he looked at me and he said, how much do I owe you? And I kind of asked him, like, so that means this is my project? And he said, yeah.
Yeah.
So he basically paid for that. I decided to not go and work for someone else. And then, you know, I started on my own, knowing that it was going to be a fun journey.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. I love that story. Also, I love the way that you tell stories. It's
Thank
great.
you.
So to add a little bit more context here to mine and Ari's relationship is Ari's company handles the large majority, almost all of Home Love's designs. So when you buy a design from Home Love, Ari really leads the team that handles the first stage of the design, which is really the most critical stage to the project coming out right. If that first stage is screwed up, the project's not coming out good. Like, you know, we've seen that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So his job is really to take his expertise on getting someone's vision out of their head and communicated in a way in 2 dimensions, sometimes 3 if you're modeling it, that accomplishes what you want from the space, but also with added expertise of, okay, we know we don't want to do it this way because it creates XYZ problems, like taking the problems out before they even happen. Obviously, that's why you hire an expert.
Yeah.
And so Ari and I get to interact. We do, interact very often. I'm sure you talk to somebody on the Home Love staff like almost every day of the week, if
Absolutely.
not more.
Yeah.
And so we've been doing that for about 2.5 years now. Is that right? 2.5 years?
Yeah.
Since 2022?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has been.
And it's been great. Just so you might not know this, but the majority of like my viewers on long form videos on our channel, even the Home Love Construction channel, are other contractors.
Yeah.
So for other contractors, the thing I would tell you is you need to find your Ari who can handle design for you, where basically they work as an integrated part of your team, even if it's a separate business. Like Levy Design Group is a separate business, but we work as an integrated team to make the project come out right. And what that's done is since we did that change, there's many things that changed, but I can attribute that change is the thing that took our business from literally like 5x our business over the course of 2 years. Yeah. It was incorporating design and actually having a handle on the design. And that requires somebody to help you, obviously. And that's what, you've helped our business with. To that point, let's talk a little bit about the concept of design and build going together. So this was also like very early on when we had first met, is I remember we had lunch in Clearwater and you told me something that I hadn't heard before, but I immediately could see that it was true, is you told me about how architects probably in the 1800s, probably like early to mid 1800s, could have started sooner, but basically architects used to run the whole project. They'd design it and then they'd oversee the actual doingness of building the project, everything. Yeah. Making sure that it came out the way that they intended. Yeah. And that stopped in the 1800s at some point. It kind of phased out and now you never see that basically. You may see engineers that kind of supervise, but it's never the architect. and that split occurred. Do you want to talk a little bit about what you found in that and kind of the results of that and how we see that manifested today?
Yeah. I think that's you know, it's kind of a shame, but it makes sense because it's politics plus history plus
Yeah,
architecture plus the idea and the concept that it is low class or something to grab a brick
yeah,
and lay it down.
that's right.
So what I see is I don't know the precise story of who and exactly when.
Yeah,
I do know that at some point the builders wanted to kind of separate themselves from certain other groups that they considered to be below them. So the American Institute of Architecture actually said, okay, architects don't build. That's
mm-hmm.
actually below our pay grade.
Right.
So all the
Because the
programs,
architect used to also be the builder. Like
yeah,
basically, they would select maybe somebody to run it, but they
yeah,
would be responsible as the builder of the project.
right.
Yeah,
Because the word architect means that master builder.
yeah. Isn't that
So
crazy?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So even in my experience while studying, it was very clear that we were not the builders.
yeah,
And the programs are more meant to kind of teach you how to draw,
mm-hmm.
teach you how to come up with a concept that I never learned from university, by the way.
Yeah.
And all these principles that put you more as a developer.
What does that mean? That come up with a concept that you didn't learn from
Yeah,
university?
so there's an idea that you can teach someone to be creative.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah, and how to come up with a concept like it was a formula.
Yeah.
So it's actually the other way around. You
Yeah.
need to understand the problem and be passionate enough to solve it.
Mhm.
And that's how you come up with a concept from
That's
the
right.
barriers,
Yeah.
not from some like something that you smoke or,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So concepts and solutions come from barriers, not freedoms, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have never been so stuck in a project other than when I don't have any barriers. And the client is like, yeah, just do something
Whatever you
beautiful.
want. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, thank you for giving me 1,000 options.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Continue. I'll
Yeah.
stop interrupting at some point.
So, yeah. So basically, they separated everything. They changed history books.
Yeah.
Architecture, and the architecture as we know it actually comes from Africa,
Wow.
from Egypt.
Yeah.
So the Greeks sent their architects to Africa to learn all these principles.
Yeah.
If you see, you know, some of the wonders of the world,
Yeah.
and then you think about Egypt, you're like, okay, these guys knew what they were doing, right?
Yeah.
In terms of balance, in terms of energy, we don't even know what those pyramids did. You know, like it's just amazing what they could do.
Mhm.
So the Greeks actually learned from them.
Yeah.
But at some point, it was not, you know, possible for
Mhm.
the American people to actually say, like, okay, all of our grand architecture came from Africa.
Yeah.
So it has been something that has been tried to kind of hide,
Yeah.
but that's the fact.
Yeah.
The modern classic architecture and the styles that we actually consider as beautiful,
Yeah.
like marble and all these like beautiful things,
Yeah.
actually started in Africa, not
Yeah.
in Greece.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of misconceptions, and there's nothing as wrong in a project or history
Yeah.
than to misname the problem,
Mm.
right? In a
Mhm.
project, you need to find that problem in the house.
Yeah.
In history, you need to find the same thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's how it, you know, came to be. Like, I'm a designer with my pinky lifted, and I will tell you what fancy name of marble goes well.
Yeah. Yeah. That. Oh my God. That's the thing that makes me laugh harder than anything else is when designers who, you know, because we obviously run into lots of different people in doing work, and I have in being in construction for almost 10 years now, run into many different designers. My favorite thing is when they ask me if I know this specific stone, like the
Yeah.
name of of a specific type of marble.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nope, it's marble. It all tends to behave the same.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's still, we're carrying that status. That was
Yeah.
the reason for the change.
Yeah.
Now we're still carrying with that idea that go with this stone or go with this style, you
Yeah.
know. If you actually look back at the styles, you're looking at things that were trying to be solved for specific locations.
Right.
If you see a mid-century
that's right.
modern,
That's right.
you know,
Yeah.
let's try one day to design a mid-century house,
Yeah.
just like we would in California,
Mhm.
right? We would be crying. Like, how do we install impact windows that are floor to ceiling and you can see through everything in the forest?
Yeah.
Like, it's impossible. So we actually need to understand that we are in Florida
Yeah.
and there's specific attributes to the designs
Yeah.
that we need to follow, but
Yeah.
we don't need to get kind of stuck
Yeah.
in saying like, oh, this is called like coastal, like farmhouse, modern Pinterest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So, man, the thing that I've observed, so when you first talked to me about this, I actually did my own research on it, and I found, I need to actually look it up, but I think I found like a who on the American Institute of Architecture. There's a guy who is the main proponent of it,
Mhm.
and basically was kind of like the president of that organization for many years from the time it was started onward. I'll share that with you later. But what I observed is, being a contractor, I found that my initial, like, the thing that I was taught was, don't get involved in the design at all. Leave it to the architect. Don't involve yourself. Right.
Mhm.
So the split happened in both directions. Right. There's like
Yeah.
contractors have their share of the responsibility pie as well, in not getting involved in the design side, and
Yeah.
what it's turned into is, the thing that I would actually love to see almost more than anything, it would be an architecture firm that really grabbed like construction by the horns and was like, hey, we're going back. We're just going to revert this to
Mhm.
what it should have been from the 1800s. I think that would actually just explode and just take off.
Yeah.
But in absence of that, like what we're doing at Home Love Construction, that you're a part of, is saying, hey, we're going to actually bring these things together,
Yeah.
and we're going to be just responsible for the whole thing. It has to come from one side or the other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And for just the way the legal stuff is set up, it makes more sense for the contractor to do it from a legal perspective right now.
Yeah.
And the way that we take that concept and really like simplify it down for people, what I always tell people is, hey, you only, like, when there's an issue between design and construction, you get this finger pointing, right?
Yeah.
They did it. No, they did it. Right.
Yeah.
Back and forth. If there's one company that was responsible for the whole thing, the finger only points back at yourself. Like, there's one person, one company, one entity that's responsible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's how any successful operation anywhere for the whole history of time
Yeah.
has always worked. There's
Right.
one person
Yeah.
who's responsible.
Right. Yeah. And it really works well because I have, I think at the beginning, like certain projects, I had a little crash with one of the estimators
Yeah.
because I was proposing something that was, above the budget and
Yeah.
all of these things. And I realized the value of the estimator being
Yeah.
there always in
Yeah.
the process,
Yeah.
saying like, okay, so let's propose something. Let's take the best concepts. Let's go back to Ari. Let's go back to the estimator. Let's constantly estimate the effort to actually arrive to a great
Yeah.
result.
Yeah.
And it just has been so amazing to be able to have things actually come to life
Yeah.
because of that.
Mhm.
Because, there's a lot of people that say like, hey, I have this budget.
Yeah.
And that's, something that we are helping them through design. And I defend the concepts that are the must-have concepts.
Yep.
And the estimator is defending the let's arrive to this
Yeah.
specific budget. So
Yeah. Yeah. And the good estimators will say, hey, they'll actually help like move the budget. The best estimators that we have in our and our estimators are our salespeople, basically. They help the client to massage the budget in a direction that actually allows them to get what they want. You show them what they might want.
yeah,
And if they do want it, the estimator helps work them up through that scale of like, oh, okay, actually I could do this.
yeah,
Let me figure out how I can do it.
yeah,
And so when it works on that wavelength, it works really well. And
Yeah.
we've built some amazing projects that way,
yeah. I mean, since that, I think that I learned to actually, be a part of the team. And
Yeah.
I think it was actually the first project. And since that, it has been just like butter because
What was the first project we did?
do you remember it was an addition to a basement
It was
because it
Dickey?
was like a downhill.
Yeah, it was Dickey in New Porchy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
And we turned the garage and laundry room into an amazing master
Dude,
suite.
that design was actually awesome.
Yeah.
I need to call them
Yeah.
because I don't think they ever did their project.
Oh, really?
Ashley, remind me to call the Dickies after this appointment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe we'll get it back. Who
Yeah.
knows? Yeah.
It was a great project.
It was a great project. Yeah. And it made
Yeah.
total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So shifting gears a little bit, I do want to talk about the design process. So, you have kind of just nailed the correct sequence of events in the design process. You want to
Yeah.
walk through that?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just given the fact that we are trying to solve a problem, right? Which is a house that the owners don't like.
Yeah.
The first thing that we need to do is understand the problem
Mhm.
and to kind of document the problem in a way that every single person involved in the team is going to be understanding of that issue. So 3D scan first. The camera actually, is equipped to give us a reference in order to create a 3D model.
Mhm.
Then we create the as-built set. It is not just an as-built plan. It's the house replicated in a file. I know that you
Yeah.
don't know like all of this, but I will just
No, it's fine.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
perfect.
fine.
So
And
Yeah.
the thing that really I kind of had an aha moment on is the cameras that are used to 3D map the house
Yeah.
create a 3D dot map
Yeah.
of that's accurate to some like less than a quarter inch or something like that. So
Yeah.
maybe 16th. That's accurate in 3 dimensions. So it actually
Yeah.
it captures not just the dimensions but the space
Mhm.
as a whole.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we create the as-built set, right?
Yeah.
And then we actually present the problem.
Yeah.
Then we combine that with the estimator's notes.
Yeah.
And then we can actually say, okay, so we have your solution or your ideal scene.
Yeah.
Then we have the problem. Let's work as a team to arrive to that point. So in that moment, I always start every interview or kickoff meeting with, okay, tell me the goal. What is the reason that is driving you to make
Yeah.
this project happen?
Yeah.
And when they tell me exactly what, let's say they need more space,
Mhm.
they have a baby coming and there's no room. Okay,
Yeah.
it's different than someone that says like, hey, my kids are gone
Yeah.
and I want a party house.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
has been quite common. There's, very common.
You know how well, maybe people don't say this to you, but to me, you know how they communicate that is they say, our kids are out of the house and we love to entertain.
Yeah,
But that's what
exactly
it actually is. The
that,
kids
yeah.
are gone and I want a party house.
Right.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the mother going back in.
Yeah.
Mo-
Yeah. The
so-
added the mother-in-law suite. Yeah.
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 Actually, by the way, what was our first company policy that we ever had?
What?
We don't work on projects, on any project that the husband and the wife do not agree on doing.
Oh, wow. Huh.
It's very interesting what
Yeah.
happens because you arrive to a meeting and then you see the husband saying like, we don't need all that space for your mom.
Yeah.
And she's like, but she's going to put this money. And then you see this break.
Yeah.
And then 1 for 1,
Yeah.
there's problems just because they don't want
Yeah.
the same thing. And they're using me
Yeah.
to prove which side is right and which
Yeah.
side is wrong.
Yeah.
So I also see that
Yeah.
in these meetings. I want to understand their personality,
Yeah.
if they're going to go crazy, what their purpose is. And then I kind of make a set of design rules,
Yeah.
right? What you can have, what you can't have.
Mhm.
Like, it's very important to see, like, okay, what do you hate? Tell me.
Mhm.
So after that, we take that concept and we create options.
Yeah.
Right. It's something that not a lot of firms can do
Mm-hmm.
because our speed allows to
Yeah.
create options.
Yeah.
So we present 2 to 3 options, sometimes 4.
Yeah.
and then we polish one option.
From how long from when you have the as-built to presenting like 4 options?
Average time, I would
It's
say
not a
like,
contract, just what's
yeah, no,
yeah.
like 4 options, like a week or so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah, and it has arrived to the point that it was recent. Someone wanted to have 3 options
Yeah.
over the weekend, and we went to scan on Friday.
Yeah.
Then my brave guys stayed over the weekend, and then we finalized 3 options for Monday.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah. So it can be really, really fast, and
Yeah.
you know, that's super, super valuable.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
People definitely freak over the speed of service type thing, especially on
Yeah.
the design side. And that when you have somebody who purchases a design and is excited about a project, keeping that line moving, like that flow going, makes it much more likely that the project happens, period.
Yeah.
Right? Like it literally is kind of the deciding factor. One thing that is really unique about you that I've seen really lacking in a lot of other design companies is your ability to close very high dollar design contracts. So that's actually one thing you're almost like specialized in is very high dollar contracts. Like we're talking literally 6-figure design contracts just for design. No construction, no construction management, nothing. Just design. What for you? So first off, what's the highest dollar design that you've closed, and then what goes into selling something like that?
Yeah. For a house,
For for a house, but then overall,
I think for a house it was like $105,000
$105,000 for a remodel of a house.
remodel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
They wanted something very special.
Yeah.
And they really wanted to make sure that every corner was perfect.
Yeah.
And they used all the representation tools that we have.
Yeah.
And they also could pick up the phone and say like, "Hey, Ari, I had a dream. I was dreaming about this Spanish style. You cannot imagine how beautiful it was,
Yeah.
like, and it comes to a point that I become almost like a family member.
Yeah.
Because, I'm in charge of their space.
Yeah.
So for that project, actually what happened is I didn't give them the number at the beginning, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't arrive with, hey, it's going to be this much,
Yeah.
and then get ready for it. I knew that it was going to take that much effort, but I knew that I needed to actually show competence and, arrive there and say, like, am I willing to charge that much because I'm going to commit that much, right? So I got to the house with their as-built. I had scanned the house, then made like the whole 3D model. And then they were speaking between them.
Yeah.
And then they were talking about wine, and they were talking about Spain and Mexico and the Spanish styles and attributes. And while they were doing that, I was sketching something. And then I marked up the floor plan with, like super simple lines.
Yeah.
And I showed them how we could transform the house, like entirely. So the wife looks at the floor plan with the sketch on top and the kind of view that I made to the wine cellar, and she starts crying. And she says, I had so much burden thinking that we paid this much for this house, and I didn't like it. I wasn't strong enough to admit that I didn't like my expensive house. But this is going to transform my house.
Oh,
this is
wow.
going to transform my life. And she was crying.
Yeah.
And the husband actually said, like, okay, how much do I owe you? He literally didn't see the final number. He just said, like, how much is the next phase? And
Yeah.
we went under contract.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
it was
awesome.
It was beautiful. It's not the first time. I have seen quite a few tears of joy because, it's something that can be in the back of your head. Like, you hate your house, but you have worked so much to, live
To
there.
buy it, to live there.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
someone arrives and says like, hey, it is possible to change it without like doing something stupid.
Yeah.
And then kind of that relief
Yeah.
comes in tears.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Why is different?
Yeah.
Why I can, arrive to that is because,
Why you can arrive to that high of a price point. Yeah.
yeah,
By the way, there's going to be people watching this who are losing their fucking minds
I know.
over what we're talking about,
Yeah.
which
yeah,
is why I want to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Because this should not be like something that somebody should lose their mind over, right?
no.
Like I'm like 105. Damn, we need to go higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, let me tell you, it was not the most profitable project.
Sure. I understand.
Yeah. But it's passion.
Yeah.
It's literally boils down to passion. If you're not truly passionate about the project,
Mm-hmm.
there's absolutely no way that someone is willing to contribute
Yeah.
those amount of
Yeah.
dollars to actually do something. So
Yeah.
it's passion and hours of practice, hours of 3D modeling myself, researching all the softwares, finding out what's the best technology, watching videos, studying architects, designers, just literally breathing and eating design every single day.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And what like when you're going to give somebody a proposal for $100,000 for their design, how do you tee that? How do you give that communication to the person? Like, here it is, 100 grand,
Yeah.
Visa, MasterCard, or American
Visa,
Express.
Yeah. It's interesting. I never present it as a number. That's part of that,
Good.
right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The number just it's not the kind of contract that you go to the bottom
Sure.
line. Yeah,
Yeah.
like we actually go through the steps from the creation of the concept through every single point that we make.
Yeah.
And at the end, it just makes sense.
Mhm.
And
So you walk somebody through the services and what they
Yeah.
actually do, and are literally helping them to mock up what it's actually going to result in,
Yeah.
and why they would need that. And then
Yeah.
by the end of it, you're like, and for that, it's $100,000.
Yeah, and I am actually recalling exactly what's the reason why.
Yeah.
Someone that is going to invest that kind of money is going to make sure
Yeah.
that you're the right person.
Yeah.
And that happens almost every single time in a very specific way.
Mm.
We walk through the land or the house,
Mm-hmm.
and then they tell me what they want. And then I describe or sketch what I think the
Mm-hmm.
final result will be.
Mm-hmm.
They see that. They see that I basically got all their communication
Mm-hmm.
and read their mind.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay.
Read their mind, also meaning listen to what they said.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny how when you listen
Yeah.
to what someone said, and you just convert it into writing, they're like, you read my mind. How did you know? It's like, you told me.
Yeah.
You told me.
Yeah.
Continue. Yeah.
So it's I have been challenged a lot of times, like, hey, this is impossible to solve. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, so I pull my iPad, I solve it, and then they know that whatever challenge comes is going to be solved.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a combination of passion and competence.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
So, and just for the record,
Yeah.
that 100K design isn't the only high ticket design you've ever. It's not, just to be super clear, we're not talking about just like a one-off design.
No.
I've seen you do many designs that are between the 50 and 100K range. That one just
Yeah.
happens to be the biggest one.
Yeah.
Just to give full context.
Yeah.
What do you see is like the future of architecture maybe in Florida or in the world? Like, how much time do you spend thinking about the future of architecture? I know the answer. It's a lot.
Yeah.
What do you think is coming down the road? Because you're going to make it come down the road.
Yeah. So I have been following 3D printing a lot.
Mm.
I do think that at some point things will be able to be printed in 3D.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's other things that cannot be replaced.
Yeah.
There's certain like materials that cannot be replaced and are handmade, or
Yeah.
you know, someone actually installing them with an art.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to kind of diversify into two ways. The first one is going to be like a bakery. Like
Yeah.
you can literally go to Amazon, type your address. They're
Yeah.
going to prep your land. They're
Yeah.
going to arrive with a 3D printer, and
Yeah.
they're going to print your house.
Yeah.
That's way
That'd be
number
one option. Yeah.
The second one will be the artistic way, you know, for people that actually care about something that reflects their personality, that they cannot 3D print or do something like that.
Yeah.
And it's going to divide further and further to the point that people can actually just, like food, you know, you can like go to your phone and just order pizza,
Yeah.
or you can have a chef.
Mellow mushroom. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to kind of separate a lot.
Yeah.
But then we need to consider the next factor,
Yeah.
which is the discovery of new materials.
Yeah.
Have you heard of what's the name? It's like neoprene, or like something that is used for.
You say neoprene?
No, yeah, it's like something.
Yeah, like for
that.
wetsuits.
No. Yeah, it's a different name then.
Oh, okay.
It's like a black kind of fabric-y mesh that is harder than like steel and can bend more than, and it's lighter than, you know, like every single aspect.
Yeah.
So I think as we discover more finishes, materials, and things that will shape how we build.
Yeah.
So I think at some point it will be very easy to make, you know, right now we're kind of worrying about beams.
Yeah.
And like, oh, let's bring these like trusses.
Yeah.
At some point we will be able to have a flat roof that is perfectly insulated, and it's the shape of the house and is this thin.
Yeah.
You know, like, and you have no problems with AC because the finish you can.
Yeah.
So I think it's those three things. Custom building will stay in the hands of the artists.
Yeah.
Track building will stay in the hands of big, like Amazon or like whoever wants to jump in there.
Yeah.
And then the new ones will come from engineers that discover new ways of building.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to what you're saying on, you know, things splitting.
Yeah.
I think that's totally right. I've been trying to, like, for myself, figure out, okay, where is this thing headed?
Yeah.
Because the idea that, you know, right now, and it's so weird that we live in 2024, and I can go on like X and have like an image made of the president of the United States with like this, with my company logo on his shirt. That's like that can happen. But at the same time, when somebody hires me to build a house, I hire a block crew that comes out in big hats and long sleeve shirts, and they stack up the blocks.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way this continues forever.
Yeah.
You know, but everything in construction is set up for it to just continue forever. And the thing that I like, I think 3D printing is probably the way that it goes, and like fewer parts.
Yeah.
But the thing that trips up new like pieces of building is that they try to do pieces. Like they try to replace parts when in reality you have to replace the whole structure of a home and integrate things into the structure of the home. Because if you just replace a part like a block, right? Like a CMU block, it's 8 inches, you know, wide, kind of 8 inches tall and 16 inches long, right?
Yeah.
That's a standard block, and it has 2 holes in it. They're 8 by 8.
Yeah.
Right. That, or 7.5, whatever. That is a unit, and that matches up with other things in construction. So if you change that, it now screws up all the other things that are built around it. The width of the door jamb, you know, the way that you do stucco up to a door jamb, the depth of window frames. Like you run into all these different problems with other parts. So the thing that you have to do is you have to actually out-create the problem of parts don't work with other parts by basically recreating the whole structure of a house
system.
Like, and that's the only way you're going to actually get a change.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been thinking about that, but I'm like, I don't want to fucking deal with that. Like right
Yeah.
at the moment,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
not there yet. Let me build up what I'm doing so that we have enough, frankly, money to like try actually make a run at it. You know?
Yeah, yeah. No, and I think it's completely true. It actually reminded me of a way that I was explaining my wife how design was composed in terms of we were trying to figure out what was happening with a specific project, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like to use examples to explain things.
Yeah.
And I was talking about a Lego box.
Yeah.
And I was saying, like, okay, you arrive to buy a Lego box. You
Yeah.
want to build something.
Yeah.
It is a very good
Death Star. Lego Death Star.
metaphor to use. Yeah,
Yeah.
like something really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So the pieces of the Lego box are the pieces in construction.
Yeah.
And I think this actually summarizes everything that comes to a design build company,
Yeah.
right? Which is you have a box. The first thing is you have a container, which is your company, your
Yeah.
group,
Yeah.
right? The second thing that you have that is key is the cover.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if you would arrive to Target
Mm-hmm.
and you want to buy like a cool set for your daughter, and then you have white boxes and it says dragon,
Yeah.
dog, house.
Yeah. Even at IKEA, they have little pictures.
Right.
Yeah.
You would be like, no, man, I'm not going to. What?
Yeah.
I need to see the final result.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you
Oh
have
my God. Yeah.
the little.
Oh my God.
It's crazy, right? It's so
Yeah.
simple. You see the little bags.
I'm literally thinking, I'm like, oh my God, so many times I've tried to sell construction to somebody without showing them the final product. Of course, they're not going to close.
Of course not.
They're selling them a white box that says dragon on it, and
Yeah.
they want to be sure that they're going to get a dragon
Right.
and the right color dragon
Yeah.
and the right breed of dragon. Anyways,
Yeah. But if we break down that even more, it gets really interesting
Yeah.
because you have the cover,
Yeah.
right? Then you open the box.
yeah,
And then you have little bags
Yeah.
with types of pieces,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
They're separated for you.
yeah,
Those are the design packages or the entities that you deal with.
yeah,
So it's one of is the designer, one is the engineer, one is the like the crew. Like you have
Yeah.
different groups,
yeah,
and then you have the instructions,
yeah,
right? Those instructions are not beautiful; they're absolutely horrible, but
Yeah.
they come in every language,
Yeah.
and they show you how to attach things.
yeah,
Welcome to the permit set
yeah,
that tells you exactly how it needs to be built.
yeah. That's right.
right.
Yeah,
And then, it has a price, and you're going to pay. You're not paying for the plastic.
yeah.
You're paying for the whole experience of building a house.
That's right.
And I think just coming from a different country, when I arrived here, I realized that the game in the US that is hard to see from the inside is
Yeah.
actually building houses.
Yeah,
It's so beautiful, like people actually try to like anything to build a beautiful house.
yeah,
And HGTV and every single show about the spaces, even in sets, you have the beautiful homes for
yeah. That's right.
like the family scene is in a beautiful house.
Dude, the scenes that they put in movies and shows, I always look at the homes and I'm like, damn, that's a nice home.
Yeah,
Shit.
right? Yeah.
They've got like the shutters and they all have wainscoting everywhere, just
Yeah.
like trim out the ass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially if it's a political show.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Oh
my
my God. They're so
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, that room would be $100,000 in trim.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is like the mock-up. That's what's like dinged in. That's the message. You got to have a beautiful home because they're everywhere. Why don't you have one? You know?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
true.
But they are not really, right? They're not everywhere.
Yeah.
They seem to be
Yeah,
everywhere.
Yeah,
So then you get, it's very powerful
yeah,
because then you get misconceptions about how easy it is to arrive there.
yeah,
But it's really, it takes a lot of people and competent people to get there. So just going back to the example of the box,
Yep.
it's very simple because there's some builders that will say, I got this. Trust me. You don't need the cover. I invented dragons.
Oh
You
my
know?
God, so
Then
true.
you have the designers that are like, man, like let's make a dragon that actually has no freaking feet, and it's just it just like
Floats, hovers.
floating
Yeah.
and spitting fire, and
Yeah.
you have the contractor saying like, this retarded person doesn't even know, like
Yeah.
it just so then you take every piece, and then you need to realize that every single part is necessary. Now,
Mhm.
we can have clients that say like, I have the dragon, I have it in my mind, just give me the pieces, I'll
Yeah.
be my own contractor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe there's like a 1% competent there that can do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But really, like, Lego is a company with a standard process,
Yeah.
with creative things in their hands.
Yep.
So I think we kind of have the Lego of
Yeah.
Tampa, Clearwater.
Totally. Yeah. Orlando too, by the way.
Yeah.
We're taking projects in Orlando now.
Perfect.
Yeah, you'll start seeing designs with Orlando addresses. So your scan people are gonna have to
drive a little bit
have
more.
to drive a little. Yeah,
Go
exactly.
to Disney.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I actually realized I was literally like, okay, what functions have to be like physically on site? Project manager,
Mm-hmm.
the inspector can drive there. He can be here. Estimator can drive there. He can be here. And the project manager, I can hire somebody that lives in the middle in Lakeland. And it becomes a 40-minute drive.
Nice.
I'm like, okay, we're doing Orlando.
It is possible,
Yeah.
and it's a huge market.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we're also really taking projects in Sarasota now as well. That's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah. We have one. Yeah.
It's a beautiful house. It will be like stunning
Yeah. I bet.
afterwards.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about, the future for the industry as a whole. For you, personally, what do you see as the future, for your design career, or, just you? Like, what do you want? What's your vision for 10 years for Ari?
Yeah, so it's a really good question, because I have the two sides, right? I want to keep doing these projects that are very passionate and very unique and all of these things. And at the same time, I want to be part of something bigger, which is standardizing the industry in terms of a process that is almost like skating, like you're just rolling. So I think that we have a very good future together, because I see that, there's like that missing piece of saying like, I need to trust someone to carry the vision of my clients, and I need to trust someone to actually execute that. And the very interesting part is, and I think that you have seen this, I hear things from the clients that they're not going to tell you.
That's right.
And one of the things is like, how, like, you're working to raise the standards, right? The only thing that I need to say about Home Love to a client is they are extremely ethical and competent. I don't even mention price.
Yeah. That's right.
Because the competence and the ethics are the missing points, not the price. Really.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's plenty of high-priced, unethical, not incompetent contractors.
Right.
Plenty.
Yeah. So just to give you a more specific answer, I think I want to arrive to a point where the bakery is running so well that I can actually take those projects and even make one for myself, like a crazy house. And
I love that. That'd be so fun.
Yeah, like a lake
That'd be a
house.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
Dude, well, we've got a lot going on now.
Yeah.
A lot coming in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you too. And thank you really for all the, every single time has been very easy to point at the designer as the cause of a lot of evils.
That's always your fault.
I know. But thank you really for trusting me with, day one. I remember this perfectly. You said, Ari, I want you to become a master builder. And we hadn't even discussed the, like any of that. So it has been really good.
Yeah.
And with that trust, we have been creating like amazing things. So I'm excited to, keep going, and
Same.
yeah, you will see us everywhere.
That's right. Look out on the sides of buses, billboards.
Yeah.
Dude, appreciate you, man. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Yeah.